Welcome everybody to another edition of Late Nite Magic. I'm your host, FitzMagic, accompanied by always my Disney compañero, Piano Rob. What up, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Gene, what's up?
You know, you always got the cool shades on, bro. I feel like I think I should start doing my shades on the show. I love those shades, bro.
You got your beard.
And I just got it trimmed today, man. So
It looks very neat. It's very neat.
I hope everybody appreciates it. It's just for you, Rob. I get it done on Monday. It's just for you. So how's your week been?
It was busy for me, man. I had my normal work, and I had a wedding this weekend. It was a very busy weekend.
We did have a fun outing though at SeaWorld. We didn't get to talk about yet with me, you, and Greg, the Disney fanatic, aka also Chip and Co. We got to do some fun in SeaWorld at all the coasters.
I'm wearing the shirt. I'm wearing the shirt on purpose.
There we go. It was the coaster capital of Orlando, and we had a mission. We had to ride 6 coasters in about 2 hours. We did it
less than 2 hours. Yeah.
There we are, the toughest one in the building, right there.
Why'd you pick that one? That's the picture we're going with, the boxcar.
There's the boxcar derby, and then we had a good time. But and we saw and there he was right there, Omar from Give Kids the World with the Give Kids the World crew. You want something? I love that shirt, and you know how often do you see a shirt with lobsters all over it? Want to hear the funny thing is, I'm walking in the Springs the other day, and I saw somebody with the same exact shirt, and I'm like, I just saw somebody the other day with that same exact shirt, and that's
I don't know. I mean, that we're starting on a lobster shirt conversation. That's where we're going.
That's all I got.
I have a rubber ducky shirt. I'll wear that for you one day. It's got all rubber duckies on it.
But I just thought it was ironic. How often do you see lobster shirts? And I saw 2 people wearing the same lobster shirt in 3 days.
I guess so. Now I feel like I'm going to see a lot of them. Like when you buy a car, you see that car everywhere. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to see this shirt everywhere.
Yeah. So, guys, we have a great show tonight. Art director from Gideon's Bakehouse, from Terribly Odd, from Mr. Reyes, Mr. Eyes.
We're not going to talk more about any of the other coasters. I figure people want to at least know.
Oh, I just want to announce who our guest was. I just want
no, I'm glad. I can't wait to get to him. I just feel like people are like, well, what coasters do they have at SeaWorld? We showed the boxcar derby and moved on.
Okay, well, we started over at was it Mako, right? Mako.
Mako. No loops in Mako, but it's such a big swooping coaster. It's if you don't like big drops and stuff, that would not be one for you.
Yes. For Northeasterners, I know we kind of equated it to Nitro from Six Flags.
At Six Flags, yes.
Six Flags. And then we also did Kraken, which I thought was really cool.
Kraken's a solid coaster, and it's their I feel like it's their oldest, but I guess Atlantis might have been there too. But Kraken's old coaster at SeaWorld, but they redid the whole track, so it's much smoother now.
Yep, it's not as bumpy. And then my favorite one was Manta. It's like it inverts you and
it lays you in a Superman position. You do the whole coaster on your stomach.
And then at the end of the ride, you remember we got stuck at the end of the ride. I think we were sitting inverted for it felt like 20 minutes.
It wasn't that long, but it felt a little too long.
I got a little dizzy.
I was dizzy too. I was dizzy.
I looked to my right. It was like I see Rob's hair hanging down. So
I couldn't see that whole ride because you're on your stomach. My hair was in my face. I couldn't see a thing.
And then we get on Atlantis. And let me tell you about my problem with Atlantis is you go down that Splash Mountain type drop, and I get a couple of sprinkles of water, nothing crazy. And then we do this one drop where it was literally like 2 feet, and 3 gallons of water just tidal waved into my lap.
I was dying. I was unconsolably laughing because I just watched. Nobody else in the boat got wet, but it dumped water on Gene's lap. It was amazing.
It was buckets of water on my lap. Buckets. And
awesome.
So but we had a great time, and we want to say thank you to Disney fanatic Greg. Thank you to Chip and Co.
Yes, for letting us. That was awesome.
It was a great day, and I know we joked about it afterwards, but I don't know if it was so much of a joke because I think we all did it. Is we left saying I need a nap. It was only 2 hours.
I did. I took a nap that day.
Yeah, so I was like, we kind of started joking, but I think we all meant it.
I was dizzy. Naps. It's too much. It's like it's like you just. We're old men now, and we're getting spun around. Now, I'm sorry. Now, please, let's talk about our great guest. I don't want to. Okay. Our guest is fantastic today.
So, if you know Terribly Odd, if you know Mr. Eyes, then you know Michael Reyes, and if you know Gideon's Bakehouse, and you see all those tremendous pictures and the artwork in Gideon's, he is the art director, and he's responsible for all those awesome characters that come out every month. So he's going to be with us in a moment. But before we get to the break, let's also we want to give a shout out to Pete McDevitt. This Saturday, he has the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for YouTubers, May 21st, 6 p.m. So guys, make sure you check it out. He will actually be our special guest on the Disney Underground this Thursday with a bunch of other guests. We're gonna have a lot of time. We're gonna talk about the importance of Pete McDevitt and his Hall of Fame induction ceremony to this Disney YouTube community, and it really is a special thing that we all are just a part of. Very inclusive, and so glad that we are part of that. So we will be with him on Thursday on the Disney Underground, and then guys, everybody tune in to Pete McDevitt on Saturday, because it's going to be a good, a fantastic community building episode show. So
somehow we're both nominated, Gene.
Yeah,
somehow
4 people from the network: me, you, Joey D, and Disney fanatic Greg, man. So good luck to everybody, and to all the other nominees. Good luck to everybody, man. I didn't even expect to be nominated, so that's, to me, I feel like I already won.
I really didn't expect to be nominated. I do not expect to win. I'm not preparing.
Me neither. Shouldn't be. But it's still nice that we were recognized, and I say thank you to everyone that did recognize us. But guys, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, Michael Reyes will be in the house.
Yeah.
Please have
Cute. Oh, Winnie the Cute. Rawr, Jurassic Cute. You're not trash. You're cute. This is Sammy. Sammy loves Disney ears. She loves ears so much, she makes her own. Yeah, 3D ears. Want to see her do it? Let's check it out. Here she's making bows. Here she also makes ears. And sometimes she makes ears with bows. Any kind you want. People have been seeing her with her ears and they're saying, hey, can I get me some ears? Pow, yeah, you can. Here you go. Now Sammy's making ears for any occasions. Ears for dogs. Ears for spooky stuff. You name it. Ears for any occasion. And it's all happening at JSA Creations. JSA Creations. Just ask for Sammy.
All right, guys. Love it. Guys, go check out JSA Creations, the best ears in the business. But let's now welcome our special guest, Mr. Michael Reyes.
Hey there, gentlemen.
Hello.
What's going on?
How you doing, my man?
Not bad. A little busy, but things are good. How about you guys?
I'm excellent, man. And I love having an awesome guest in. We have yet to really meet. This is the first time we got to meet, and excited to get to know you a little bit.
Well, likewise, guys, and interesting on the roller coasters. It's crazy too, man. Getting older, it just doesn't work the same anymore, man.
No,
it just doesn't work the same. Everything makes you feel a little queasy.
Yes,
I'll tell you what. It depends on the coaster. Like I know, not to brag, I was lucky enough to do the Guardians one, and like that one is so smooth. So I feel like it's a different level. I just felt fantastic on that one. But some of those old ones that rattle your head around, oh man.
Yeah. The bravado's still there, man, but the stomach's gone.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I want to go on them all, but like I feel a little certain type of way in my stomach once I get off.
Absolutely.
So, and you're always a little sore the next day. The next day, you always feel like you got into like a car accident, right? I mean, like you're a little banged up the next day.
It's that Toby Keith song. I ain't as good as I once was. That's how I feel.
Right,
yes.
There it is.
Yes. So Michael, man, like tremendous work. First, let me just congratulate you on all the success that you've had with all the artwork and these characters that you guys have cultivated and created at Gideon's Bakehouse are just phenomenal. But I don't know if a lot of people even know it. There's another side to your art, which we're going to touch on in a little minute, which is terribly odd. But how long have you all right, so did you know as a child, like you wanted to be an artist? Like, were you already like drawing? Were you already creating characters even at a young age? Or was it something that kind of came up later on?
Yeah, man, it's the same stupid story you hear out of and I hate to say stupid, but it's the same story you hear out of everybody who ends up getting to do this. It's, in fact, like for a really long time, I thought, okay, something's not right because this is all you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and so it took a while to get things going and getting to do that. But yeah, I've said this to people before, so people who might have spoken to me who haven't been watching, they'll probably hear this again. But it's kind of like it's your own language in a way, I think. And I think a lot of people who do, and I'm sure it must be the same with music. Like you hear it, and there's something there. Well, in a small way, it's like that. It's not. you're seeing these characters and these things, and it makes you sound a little crazy, but it's like a dialogue with yourself, right? So yeah, ever since I was a kid, it was a way to be able to communicate in a way that I couldn't quite speak up about. As weird as it sounds, like social anxieties and all that sort of stuff have always been big, and it was a way to open the door. And that's, early on. So yes, it's always been a thing with me to want to do something with it, of course.
Listen, do not feel that it is not weird at all. That is the most true. No, it's so truthful. Like whenever people ask me, like, how do you know this with music, that with music? I say that exactly what you said. It was like you were in my brain. Music is a language. And once you know how to speak it, you can just speak it. And that's how I can figure out different songs or where I want to go with a song. And for an artist, any art form, it's that is your way to express yourself. And when you find your people that can receive that message, because maybe they need to express themselves the same way, but they don't have your way to do it. They don't have my way to do it. You're giving them that way. And that's where it becomes that extra little bit of special of it's your way to express yourself, and it becomes their way.
There was this really cool article I had read years back, and it's funny because up until that point, I didn't quite see it a certain way, but it was an interview with a musician out of Iceland, this band Moom, and it was one of the guys, and he was talking about it, and he said that they teach music and the arts as another language. And it was funny because up until that point, it never clicked in my head. I know it sounds like a weird thing because just, saying that you always have it, but it is. It's like a language. It's a dialogue that you have with yourself. So yeah, it's always been there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, when did you realize it went from being something that you were just passionate about to where you could actually do this for a living? Where it was
I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure, man. Still trying to figure that out.
You're accomplishing it, man. You're doing great work.
Thanks.
And I listen. I see the line standing outside Gideons of people trying to go get the little posters and so put your artwork on it. So I see it. So you have accomplished a lot.
It's the funny part of all this, and it's again, it's not to keep going on and on, but the funny part of it is that the insecurity and all that crap, that artwork that's in Gideons, it wasn't until Gideons opened that I ever had the courage to put it out there. Steve kind of has been, he's always liked the pencil drawings and those drawings.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy part of it for me, is that I never wanted to put those things out there. So seeing people respond the way that they have it's been a little crazy. It's
overwhelming, I guess.
It is. It's overwhelming. It's a little hard to process because you're so, again, something that I'm sure that you go through as a musician. You just don't think people are going to understand or communicate or connect on that level. And when they do, it's a weird thing because you're almost trying to think of how to explain it. You're just grateful that somebody got it, and to see it on this level after keeping it put away since I was a kid is just, it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
A lot of us have, we've spoken about it on a couple of episodes with people, imposter syndrome, where you don't feel you deserve what you've accomplished. And let me tell you something, do not feel weird about going into any of that. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, I know I have high functioning anxiety. My brain does not shut off. And no matter how much I do, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. And then even if I get the praise for something I do, I don't always feel like I deserve the praise on whatever it is. And a lot of our listeners, a lot of our watchers feel that way. And that's why I love when we talk about this stuff, because it talks about people like you. You have an amazing skill. And I hope we get to do this again in another couple of years, and maybe where you've probably reached another level. And I'm curious to see how you feel about it at that point.
I'm sure I'll still be pretty miserable, but yeah, man, we'll do it again. We'll do it again for sure.
You know what it is? I think when something comes naturally to you, like Rob with music and you with your art, I think you almost look at it like, well, it's natural to me. So I don't understand what the big hubbub is, like what people find so interesting about it. Because to me, it's like you said, it's a language. It's something it's just natural, just comes through me. So I can understand where you're like, to me, it's not a big deal. I've been doing this forever. Like, what is it that you see like that makes you so crazed about it? So I think that's what it is. I think when we have something that's so natural to us, it's so second nature that we don't see it as a big deal, but it really is inspiring to other people. And so when you hear it, it's almost, I think that's where the overwhelming part can come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think, it's funny because just, again, going back and forth with the music thing, I equate a lot of stuff to music. Music's heavily involved in working things out and stuff. But I guess what happens is, and this is something that I'm trying to learn now, because my wife had said this to me in the past, like talking about stuff. She's like, it's fine that you feel the way that you do about your stuff if you don't think it's great or this and that. But if you tell somebody who says that they love what you just did and you're like, oh, it's, that's, but I wish I would have done this. She's like, in a small way, you're downplaying their response to it. And so I got that now, and okay, don't do that anymore. But in a weird way, to go back to the music thing and how it kind of worked out for me is, I guess the way to say it is, at this point in my life, it's like I've heard the song so many times.
Yeah.
Whenever you draw something, I'm like, yeah, I've heard this already. I know this. So if it doesn't impact you the same way, I don't know if this makes any sense. Somebody's hearing this for the first time, right? And it's exciting to them, where at this point, doing what I do, like with the drawing and stuff, I've been doing it for so long that sometimes it just doesn't feel like it hits the mark that it should. Because I've heard it, I've seen these things so many times that if I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever.
That's exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I meant when I said so. That's exactly, yeah.
It makes sense. I have found, and for me, playing live helps this. And I don't know how to equate this as an artist, so this is going to be interesting. I get that incident from the crowd. So even though it might be a song like Sweet Caroline that I've played a million times, if you ask me, Rob, play a song you like to play, I'm personally not going to pick that one. Not because it's a bad song, because I've played it a million times. But if I get to visually watch that person who needs to hear it, they just love it, and it's their energy, that pulls it out of me. But again, I know that's different in a live situation. I'm not going to be alone in my bedroom playing piano and play Sweet Caroline. So I guess it's up to you to find that motivation for you. Why am I drawing this character again? Who is it for? That, because when I do it for other people, I find it feels better. I feel more fulfilled giving that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's, to go along with what you're saying, it's exactly right. It's almost like I guess the way to put it, there wasn't an audience, or at least to me, there wasn't an audience until Gideon's opened.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. So,
and now that you have one,
it's like hearing this, like you said, it's getting that feedback from people, right? Like seeing the responses and stuff. That's along the lines of like what you're saying. When you're playing live, it's kind of like I'm playing my first live show in a way with this stuff. I've done stuff with Terribly Odd, and that's different. You know what I mean? Like that was a way to make it a little bit easier for me to get into doing this stuff. But yeah, for the first time with these drawings, it's pretty overwhelming to get that feedback and to hear that and to see the connection to it is kind of crazy. So,
and to go along with what your wife said, I have found that I've had to learn to do this. And I'm sorry, Gene, I feel like I'm going off of this wonderful conversation. I've learned I've just had to say thank you, because like I said, maybe you don't feel you deserve it. I don't feel I deserve it, whatever it is, but you touch somebody else in whatever way. And like your wife said, you can't downplay that because it means so much to them. You don't want to you just thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for liking what I do. And that's all I can really do. And that means the most to them. It's not about you at that point.
Right. Yeah. That's the important part, is because when somebody says something like that, it's a uncomfortable spot, at least for me, to be in when somebody's saying something along those lines. And so it comes off trying to downplay it so that, I don't know if I'm making sense here, trying to take the words that give, and so that they know that there's none of the arrogance involved in it. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, yeah, you want to be.
You're trying to straddle in a way where you're like, okay, I'm appreciative, but I don't want you to be like, I don't want to come off like, oh yes, that one, yeah, I love it too, and and just because it's so
there's a humbleness
in a way.
You want to be humble,
there's a humbleness.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
you don't want to
again. I absolutely appreciate it, but you're just trying to tell them in a way. I'm super thankful. It's not that, I appreciate that you love it. It's not that great, because you look at other artists and you're like, what they're doing is amazing. What I'm doing, it's okay, And again, it's like she said, that it's just that some people are going to feel differently, and in an effort to try and not sound important, you end up downplaying yourself to a point where it could come off the wrong way. And so it's been a weird little bit of time, I guess.
It's a thin line for sure,
Well, and you did say one wrong thing, and this is your own journey. What you do is amazing. You can compare yourself to another artist because you're not doing maybe what they're doing. And in your eyes, that person is great for XYZ reason. But to the person that's looking at your thing, that's what you're doing for them. So it is amazing. You know, accept that now or accept it later.
Thank
but
you.
It's what it is.
And speaking of other artists,
He learned.
and speaking of other artists, who are some artists that you were inspired by that you see their work and it makes you want to be in this genre of art?
The ones that really kind of got me to where it's a weird thing, because that changes as life kind of goes on, right? When you're younger, art is one thing. Art is perfection. Art is, you know, you're doing this and you're doing that. So it started at a certain point, and then I started going to art school years ago, and then, like we were talking about with the anxiety, and so I couldn't deal with the environment. It was a bit overwhelming and pulled away. So but my opinions on art started changing. I got introduced to Keith Haring's work at that time frame, and it was amazing to me that, wait a minute, this guy's stuff is so straightforward, so direct, and it doesn't have all that technical stuff that I grew up thinking you have to be a real artist, right? But it hit me on an emotional level that stuff hadn't done before. And it was around that time, maybe a little bit later, you start putting two and two together. I don't know how old you guys are when it comes to it, but I used to watch as a kid on PBS. Back when you only got so many channels, on PBS every Sunday they would show Mystery, right? And the intro to that was done by Edward Gorey. And I always had a love for that. And never made the connection until I got older and started seeing his work, that it was the same guy. Like, because, you forget about it for a bit, and then you see it all kind of comes together. And I'll say that, like, Edward Gorey, Charles Addams, the guy who did the Addams Family, Jose Posada, who did way back a lot of the Day of the Dead stuff, the Galacas and all that sort of stuff that you see. Those were the guys who probably made the biggest impact, because it came from a different place than what I knew before. It was less about the perfection and more about the story behind each one of those. Not that any of their work isn't perfect. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, it was storytelling on a different level than I had remembered before that. So yeah, in a lot of ways, those are the guys who sort of molded, if that's a weird word, I don't know, who sort of shaped where I was going with stuff. No, I guess a better way to put it is who made what I wanted to do right in my head. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
It's the inspiration,
Right.
I mean, I think.
And you need the person, the trailblazers, if you will, that make you feel it's okay for me to go into this field. And so it's okay for me. Maybe it's, maybe you didn't know you wanted to go into that field at all. Maybe you thought you could only draw this or use something this way. And now I can do it this way. Like, that's what makes it fun.
What it did was it made me step back and go, oh, the stuff that I wanted to do from when I was younger, it is acceptable. It is cool. As long as you're being honest with stuff, it doesn't matter how perfect things are, what the composition is, what medium you use. It's all in that honesty and all about how you tell a story with those characters. And so it was an affirmation, I guess, in a way, if you want to put it that way, where it was like, oh, those things that I drew from when I was a kid, those are valid. And the stuff I wanted to do when I was younger is that I didn't have to give that up to become an artist. I just thought I did. If that makes I don't know if that makes more sense, but
no, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I think that's what makes us unique. We see what's working and we assume we have to follow this pattern because that's what's working. And the truth for any person, whatever field you want to get into, when you can be creative and you take something and you do your twist, that's what makes it you. People will latch onto that. The perfection really lies in the imperfection. Not to be poetic, but I really feel that way.
No, agreed. Now, Terribly Odd and Mr. Eyes.
Yes, sir.
What is so? Give us your not so much inspiration, but like your direction in each, and there's some of the Terribly Odd stuff. What makes something terribly odd, and what makes something Mr. Eyes? Like, where's the little bit of similarity and the little bit of difference?
If you look at the characters, they're the same. The difference is one was born out of, that's my dad actually. One was born out of, I talked about the insecurity and stuff. that's where Terribly Odd came from. So Terribly Odd was failing out of art school, like not having the courage to, to go through with it, and then getting into graphic design, but still wanting to do stuff later on. It after I left school, I went about, I'd say, almost 10 years without doing any artwork. And then while doing the graphic design stuff, kind of fell in love with the cleanliness and how that idea. So it was taking those characters that you're seeing the drawings of, and literally I cleaned them up in Illustrator, and it looked kind of cool. So then I simplified them even more, and that Terribly Odd was a way to deal with insecurity. So in Miami, that's where I'm from, I started putting the pieces out there, and I would just, I would leave some here and there, just little boxes, wooden pieces of stuff. And that's why I wouldn't paint them. I would just do almost like little paste ups on pieces of wood and leave them out there. And it was a way to work anonymously without my name being tied to it. Because again, it wasn't that I was calling myself Terribly Odd, which later on I totally regretted doing it, because it turned into this thing where people thought I was trying to, and I'm like, that's not it. I just didn't want to put my name on it. I just wanted it to be like a brand almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That I could do some stuff artistically with. So in essence, Terribly Odd was coming to grips with wanting to do something and not having the courage to put the Mr. I's drawings out there. Those were already around. Those had been around a long time. It was just a way to do stuff with them. So, and then the Mr. I stuff is just, that's what comes naturally. Even when I'm doing the Terribly Odd kind of look, that they all start that way. They all start with the drawings, the square heads, the eyes far set and small. So
they almost sometimes look like a darker Funko on a page when I see the square heads.
So, did somebody tell you to bring a Funko?
No, no.
So Steve even
is that something you're supposed to talk? It's really there was two things. I mean, I'll tell you what the other one is later, but that's always something I've thought. Now here you are. So how do I not say it? That's what it.
No, it's funny. It's people know. I've never said this, right? But going way back, there are people who, and let me make this very clear. I don't say this. I think similar things happen all the time. Just like musicians will write songs that are very similar and not know. But what I will say is I've been doing the Terribly Odd artwork since 2003. It's been a long time, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to do, I'm only saying this because friends who own galleries have said this to me. I'm getting embarrassed even talking about it. But it was around 2008, I would say, that I did a couple shows with Gallery 1988. They did some of the Crazy for Cult shows. So I did an Edward Scissorhands. I did a couple other ones for them and stuff like that. And maybe a year later,
Funko's popped out.
Friends of mine who own stores started getting them in, and they're like, "Have you seen these? They're totally ripping you off." And I don't want to say it, but at the time, Terribly Odd had no mouths. They had no noses. They were just the eyes. If you go back through my feed, you'll even find some of the really old ones. I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying something. So.
I have to add one more thing, because you just said the other thought in my head. When I see your pictures, there is a composer that I hear in my head, and you just said Edward Scissorhands. So now I'm curious if you ever feel it. I hear Danny Elfman.
Oh, no, of course, man.
Okay, I just want good. I'm doing the right thing then.
No, you're right. Look, if you've heard the playlist at Gideons, that's part of what I listen to draw, and it has been. There's a whimsy that's in that music.
Yes, great word.
Yeah. It's just there's that's funny, because like you were speaking of that was one of the key things that when Steve and I were working on like ideas and stuff like that, it was always whimsy had to be first, whimsical. And so I think this is going to sound weird to put it this way, but I think you touched on it with Danny Elfman. I think there is whimsy in darkness.
Yes.
More than in
Especially
more than in the bright, more than in, because cheery and stuff like that, when you start getting whimsical, it gets a little corny in a way. But when you're going the opposite direction, it almost allows you to keep going darker, if that makes any sense. It's
Absolutely.
Like that little bit of whimsy kind of keeps pulling you in deeper, like, keep coming this way, and you keep following along. You're willing to go along with it into a darker place. And I think that's, absolutely right.
I definitely see that with Elfman, with Williams, with the Harry Potter music is that same thing, that dark but whimsical.
There it is.
Right? It has that. And I'll tell you what I do love too is your art. it like when you talk about what Terribly Odd was, it really came from your own inspiration of your own insecurities that you really just you put on paper. And I think that's very inspiring to other people. Like I think that's a great message for other people that also have like that same insecurity about their artwork and about their passion. And it just shows you just sometimes you just got to put it out there. And I think that's a great message for the next generation that you just put out there, for them to understand that. I think it's fantastic that you actually even put that out there for them to know.
I appreciate that. And it's become a thing for me now. I know this is going to sound weird, but I've mentioned the word a few times, and I think now you're hearing it a lot, and which is good. But anxiety was something that played a huge part. Insecurity was something, and instead of ever really talking about it when I was younger, it was always there's something, or at least to me, I would always think there's something wrong. Just keep quiet. So even when I first started doing art shows and stuff, and I was getting like sick before an event and stuff, like I just couldn't deal. Even then, I wasn't quite sure what was going on, right? And it's just as you start learning more and more. So now that things are starting to come into a point where, and because of Gideons, that it's giving me like a little bit wider of an audience, and people have been so receptive to it. I almost feel like it's my thank you in a way, or like my duty in a way to start doing more and more with the characters that are dealing with that. I've told a couple people this, but a lot of if you notice everything that I've ever done, even with Terribly Odd and stuff like that, all the characters are dark. There's a creepiness to them, or they're vicious. They've got fangs. There's always something about them that's a little bit of a monster. And in a really small, I'm not like an artist who's a storyteller when it comes to, this means this, and here's this symbolism. I'm not that guy. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but the characters have represented that, if that makes any sense. So they're adorable and they're very sweet characters, but there's something that keeps people at a distance. And that was, to me, that's what the anxiety has always been. It's the anxiety for me has always been my fang, or something that keeps people at a little bit of a distance from me. And so that's the small story in it. So now I feel like, okay, let's start making it obvious to people and making these characters more and more about, dealing with anxiety and stuff. Because it sounds like it's a simple thing, but man, it's made a huge imprint on my life. It stopped me in a lot of ways, so.
It's not a simple thing, and it affects so many people, and it's flat out cool that we live in a time now that we do talk about these things, because we say it all the time. Like, so many people are going to hear that message and they're going to realize how that affects them. And this is the time for introverts with anxiety to shine. You have TikTok. As long as you're okay with the idiots that are going to say whatever dumb stuff they're going to say, because they exist, you're also going to find your people. Your people are out there. And if you feel like you're alone, you're not. But you got to take those first couple of steps. Sometimes people aren't going to get to you, but if you're willing to do it, you'll find your spot.
Yeah, and I think we all grew up we're all roughly the same age, same generation. I imagine. I feel like we all grew up when we were kids. There wasn't really names for a lot of the stuff. It was more like, well, he's just always in a bad mood. And no, like I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, and like my anxiety. To the fact that I'm even doing this on YouTube is like, if you would have told me 2 years ago, oh, you're going to be doing something on YouTube on camera, I'd be like, you're crazy. I don't have the guts for that. And it took a lot of baby steps. It took it just doing an audio podcast where I only had, it was recorded. I wasn't live. I was only in front of 3 people, and I would have such a panic attack before every show. And it wasn't even live, and there was only 3 people in front of me. And I would get so like nauseous. And it's kind of like you said before, there was these feelings you get where I didn't even know that it was because I had anxiety. I just thought it was almost like, it was like just, I happened to get sick before.
It's how you are. You think that's just how I am.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so this is also another great message for, I think, that people that don't realize it. And again, when we grew up, there really wasn't names for this. It was like, it wasn't anxiety. It was like, I'm in a bad mood, or he's depressed. But there's more. It's more than just being depressed.
Or you just can't handle it. Like sometimes that's it. Maybe I get nervous. I get nervous to an extent before any show I do. And I know it's going to be good. And I will never not do a show because of the nerves, because that means that the nerves won, and the nerves are not going to win because I'm going to do good. And it takes a while to get there for people, but you got to get there. You got to get there your way.
Yeah. You got to take your roadmap, because again, there's things that I'll be honest. There has been times where I just didn't go through it. I wasn't able to fight through the nerves. Now I'm able to. Now, and it's with the great support of people like Rob being on here every week with me, and Bondo and all the other people that are part of what we do. Joey D and Sammy D and everybody. They're the ones that help me really cope, and because otherwise I don't think I could do it. And there's a lot of things that I did pass on, a lot of opportunities that I did pass on, just because I was like, I just was like. Just scared. I was just flat out scared. And it wasn't just being scared. As we find out, as we grow and we learn more and things don't become as taboo as they once were, we realize, there was a time where like social anxiety disorders were like a dirty word. Like people didn't even want to acknowledge it. And now it's become where it's like, we can accept it now because we all, I think at the end of the day, I think everybody goes through a little something, right? Like whether or not it's diagnosed or not is different. But so I think a lot of this message that people that are getting to hear, I think it's really, really important. Because you're not alone. We're all dealing with it, and you can strive to get through it. And like I said, your artwork, I think, is such a great message for people that might feel that way too, that just don't know how to express their feelings. And you did it right through your art, really. And I think it's amazing.
For me, man, I got to tell you the greatest. Sorry, this whole conversation gets a little bit. The greatest part of all of this has been, and I'm surprised at how often it does come through. I did the Festival of the Arts not that long ago, at the beginning in February, early March. And then we did that signing just recently out of Gideons. And the part of it that always kind of tears me up is when people recognize it. And that's insane to me, where they're like, I suffer from anxiety and I see it in these characters. I can connect to them because they're looking for the same. And when somebody, before you've said anything to them and they tell you what you didn't tell anyone was in this, it's mind blowing. So like I'm such an idiot with this. My only response is I start getting emotional and I want to hug the person, and I have hugged several people. Broken.
They probably love it. I'll make you.
They
love it. They probably love it every time.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy because it's a validation, and I can't describe it, man. I really can't describe it. It's a level of validation, and for I'm older now, and I've spent the majority of my life worrying about myself, and then the other side worrying about the stupid artwork where it's like nobody's gonna get this, nobody's gonna care, whatever. For it to have gone in the past year and a half that we've been doing the Gideon thing, for it to be where it is and that people are connecting on that level, it's just it's a weird thing because it's beautiful at the same time where you're like looking back on life going, I was an idiot. We could have done so much better. What I mean is, when I say we, I mean the characters.
Yeah.
Could have done so much more all that time. Yeah, it is a little weird. But could have done so much more with it. But it's okay. Like the fact is the moment hit when it was supposed to, and now it's just doing the right thing with it, where before I might have just been still too scared to keep going. Now it's like I've got to keep. People have told me through the hugs, through the talks and all that, people have told me now, okay, you've got it, just keep going with it. So so it's been
I deal with that too. Like I look back and I said, if I could have just gotten the courage to do certain things when I was in my 20s, who knows where I could be at this point. Right. But you just know what, you just got to remember, hey, it's your journey.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and you're here now because of maybe certain things that happened. Maybe you wouldn't be in the same spot as you are right now. Maybe it would have been something that wouldn't have worked out. So always be grateful for where you're at this point. I can always look back and say, you know what? No regrets, because I might not be where I am now, and I'm happy where I am now. Otherwise, we get real deep. So let's talk about some fun stuff.
I was going to say, can we I am so glad, but let's talk about the happy stuff. Let's get into can we get into Gideons?
I want short-lived, man.
Let's talk some cookies, man.
Stuff going on.
I want to know how did Gideons get started? How did we get going with that? Where did that all come from?
It's a funny story, man. So, I'm sure if you've talked to Steve, or you might know this a little bit, but I'll bridge like a history gap real quick. Speaking of the Mr. Eyes and the Terribly Odd and all that sort of stuff. So, like I was saying, I got Terribly Odd going. It'll all make sense, I promise. I got the Terribly Odd stuff going, and so I started doing little things here and there around Miami, just leaving pieces, putting stickers up. And a friend of mine had talked me into doing MegaCon one year. It was in 2000. This is so old, man. 2006, and I met Steve there. he at the time he owned a place called Uberbot, and it was an art gallery, and they had vinyl toys. It was just the coolest freaking place ever. And they had vinyl toys and stuff like that, and so anyway, so I had started having a show there with him, and every now and again he'd show up with the cookies. He'd just make them, and they weren't where they were there, but he was tinkering and stuff like that. So that was like the introduction I was doing, and so we became good friends around that time frame. I started doing some design work for with him and stuff like that for the gallery and stuff. And then later on, because of the friendship, we spoke on a regular basis. And I remember having the conversation. I was on a coffee break. I just before all this, and even still, I do it here and there. I designed bird food bags, and yeah, it's real. And so I'm on my lunch break, and he talks to me, and he calls me, and we're just talking, and we would always shoot ideas back and forth. Just, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And one day he says to me, what do you think of the idea? Like, if I was ever to go forward with Cookie Place, what if it was kind of like a darker idea? And so we just started spitballing on what this would be. And then he's like, yeah, we need to think of a name. And so he started, coming up with names, and I tried to come up with a few names, but the name Gideons just stuck. And then all that history just started coming into place, and the story, the book, for God's sakes, kind of like opened that door. I mean, it's like, how do you avoid that? So yeah, so that's I know it sounds crazy, but like it was just conversations like that,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we had a mutual appreciation of like Edward Gorey's artwork and stuff like that. So conversations started coming up. Okay, what if you took that vibe, and what if it was, I think my favorite thing that we ever talked about was, what if it was like Harry Potter set in the Haunted Mansion as illustrated by Edward
That's
Gorey.
What it is.
And
Yeah.
that's really what the place is.
Yeah.
There you go. This.
I hope I'm not getting into any trouble with Steve, but there you go.
You know what? It's one of those things that I feel like your characters is just so iconic too. I know everybody just waits like each month with the new cookie. What's the new artwork going to look like too? What is your favorite Gideon's character that you've created?
My favorite, it's hard to say like a favorite because there's different reasons to appreciate all of them. But the one that gets my heart the most is Morning Joe. The little guy, the guy who grieves for everybody and just sits and cries over everyone's over grave. There's something about him. It could be, that it ties into some stuff in my history and stuff like that, but I just have a warm spot for that character. There's something about his grief that I find delicious.
What about Cookie? What's your favorite cookie? What's your go-to?
There are two cookies that make me a little bit insane. The coffee cake cookie, the one that's every morning, is ridiculous, and
it sells out so fast.
Yeah.
Sells
it's
out
crazy,
every
man.
day.
And the peanut butter cookie, just the straight peanut butter crisp. I like a good peanut butter cookie, and it's just got that right balance for me. Like those are don't get me wrong, I like all, but those are the two that I will go through an entire cookie just sitting down. Like if I'm not careful, I will go right through those without stopping. The other ones get a little, like, okay, they let you know. Like when you're eating that cookie, you're like, yeah, I need to take a break here.
Yeah.
But those two, man,
I never
there's
do.
no stopping.
The pistachio for me. Pistachio is mine.
Pistachio is mine too. It's the perfect balance of salty and sweet with the pistachio. And I'm not a big pistachio nut eater. Like I don't really eat pistachios, but that cookie, that's my favorite cookie.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you which one that I ate to the point where I actually got sick from. Like as you said, because I knew I should stop, but I just couldn't, and I ate. I'm about to embarrass myself. I ate two of them.
Well, that's your fault, Gene.
It's one of the Christmas ones, not the Krampus.
The Santa's White Christmas.
Yes. Oh, with the white chocolate, it was so good, bro. I ate two of them. I actually was doing a show. I forget what show. I think it was the Disney Underground. We were doing a show, and I ate them through. By the end of the night, after the show, I was like, I'm so sick. That's funny. Because I knew I should stop, but it tasted so good that I just wanted every bite.
That's funny.
So, Michael, you have no reason to know this. I play at the Boathouse most weekends, there by Gideons. That's where I play piano. So, especially at the brunches, and it's a great thing to do for anybody listening. You go get a virtual queue at Gideons because it might be an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You come have brunch at the Boathouse. You get to listen to me play piano. But I can't tell you how many people mid-brunch, they send representatives from their table. They go do the virtual queue, and they come back. And I can't tell you how many cookies, coffees, and everything I get handed at the piano. I'm in larges now, and I blame it on Gideon's being that close. Because I don't. Who says no to a Gideon's cookie? Once you have one, you don't say no.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I feel so, and I've been in there so much less times than the cookies I get because they come to me, they show up.
So you're summoning them with the keys, man.
That's my experience. That's my Gideon's experience every weekend.
That's awesome.
So, with the you're creating a new character, right? Like, is there any rituals that you have when you're getting ready to create? Is there something that you say, like, I gotta have a certain, like, I know you mentioned the music before. Is there like a certain food you like to have when you're trying to create something, or is there anything other than the music that you have that helps you kind of get that creative juice going?
So there's two things that work, or I guess you say three. The music is always there. It's got to be, and it varies from character to character. So typically, like, what'll happen is Steve and I will have a conversation about what's coming up, and then we might bounce an idea here and there and stuff like that. But then I'll start just drawing, and, like, for example, like the Lydia character, the one who's playing the coconut ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
I had this idea for a long time about a character who's playing an instrument. At the time, I was either going to be a stand-up bass or a violin or something. I wanted a string instrument originally, and I wanted spirits to be coming out of the instrument. I had the little doodle of it. So we were kind of stuck on the idea, like, what the hell do you do with coconut? Like, how do you make a coconut dark? How do you give a coconut creepiness?
That's the lightest. Yeah, the lightest of all
fruits.
Is that a fruit?
Yes. So, but like it's so tropical stuff is difficult to turn into something eerie without, again, the balance that we have is we never, maybe it's just my thing or whatever, but we never wanted to go too dark. You don't, dark for the sake of dark becomes, unapproachable for some people, and I think that with what we're trying to do is it's not so much, we're not trying to be dark, if that makes any sense. It's just doing the things that we appreciate. So anyway, so like for her, for example, her name's Lydia because I got confused. There's the song Ukulele Lady, and I combined that with Lydia the Tattooed Lady. Like, for some reason in my head, that's what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a playlist of just nothing but like ukulele music from the early 20s, and it wasn't until then that I realized, oh, dude, it's not, I couldn't find the song Lydia the Tattooed Lady. I'm like, that's not the one.
It didn't exist.
Oh, you idiot. So, but we just kept the name because it worked for her. But so typically the music is a big part of it. The other thing is I have an old mechanical pencil that I've had I don't know how long, and no fancy paper. It's always just on just regular, at least the beginning of it. Once we do the actual, I do the finished drawing, it's on something else. But whenever I'm doodling, I don't like to have a sketchbook because I like to be able to kind of go back and forth more quickly. So I'll just use regular copy paper and just doodle on those and leave all the sheets out so that I can keep sort of looking at everybody as I'm working on ideas. But that's it. That's pretty much the ritual.
But that's a great process.
I got an idea
Go ahead.
for a new character. And we should base it on my man over here, Piano Rob. How about Robert Harpsichord?
There you go. There you go. That'd be great. That's a great instrument. Well, what I love about that, the harpsichord, is that the era it conjures up.
Yes.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you guys see, this is everything. I don't know if you guys do it this way, but everything ties into memories, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I think of harpsichord, I think of the first time that I remember being like, that sounds cool, as when I was younger. Do you remember the original Mozart movie?
Amadeus?
No, I'm sorry, Amadeus. I'm sorry.
Yes.
When he sits down and he rewrites Salieri's little march, I just love the sound of that from when I was a kid. And so ever since then, like, I have playlists for everything. I've got nothing but a harpsichord playlist and the thing. Nice. And I'll listen to that sometimes.
That's cool.
On something. Because I think it puts you in the mindset of the era, if that makes any sense. And it really helps come up with some of the ideas. And
I hear the Main Street Electrical Parade from Disneyland, which is based on the old classical piece, the Baroque Hoedown, I think it was called. So same thing. They made it more current with Disney, but it was still based on that classic piece,
for
that
sure.
harpsichord sound. Put you in that, and I could see that with your characters. Listen, you can base a character on me anytime with some cookie. I would love to see
I think of Lurch
with a stack of cookies on his harpsichord.
I just think of Lurch from the Addams Family. That's I just go with Lurch.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's got that, those
connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about doing an animated series with some of these characters? Is that something maybe down the line?
I've never thought of a series. I have a lot of animated shorts outlined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm telling you guys, man, I've bounced around a lot on stuff. I actually went to school for 3D animation for a while because I thought, oh, maybe I can do it this way. And no. But yeah, there's a couple stories that I've put together that I would love to do something with. I think the animated short is just, I don't know. The reason I thought of it is just because the continuation of a story is less interesting to me. And I know that sounds weird, but that's less interesting to me than living inside of a character's brain for a very short time and trying to get people to connect.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, I feel that. Well, you know what? We got this thing we like to do called Lightning Lane before we wrap up. And it's simple. We're going to ask you a bunch of rapid fire questions. And first thing that comes to your mind, first answer. So are you ready?
I forgot about the graphic.
I was like, the imaging, man, the imaging.
So there we go. It's all about imaging, right? It's all about graphics. So we got some easy ones for you, right?
All right.
I'll start it off. Favorite late night snack?
Favorite. See, that's. I know it says this is Lightning Lane, but man, I'm drawing a blank. Bread.
The answer is Gideon's cookies.
I was going to say, yeah, you had the easy answer.
I live 3 hours away.
I'm just kidding.
I know Steve doesn't like to ship them, but if he shipped them for anybody, it's got to be you, right?
Nobody is allowed in that. He won't ship them to me. I'll beg him. Dude, it's like I'll even tell him I haven't tried any of the special cookies. Then you need to come up and get some.
Wait, no, this is so off topic for a Lightning Lane. I have friends who live out of state that I have other friends that are going to listen to this now that will package up $50 worth of these cookies and ship them. It's happened.
You better put them in a witness relocation right now because if Steve wants it, he's going to find them.
I would think he would want that because these people buy so many. They'll keep them in their freezers. They're not selling them. They're for friends, but they know so many people love them and don't have access, so they send them all over.
I've always said, and we'll take a little hiatus from Lightning Lane real quick. I've always said that's how you know. No, that's how you know the product is what it is because he says like you can only buy 6. You can only right. I mean, there's so many limits, and that's how you know his product is that great because he still sells out, and there's like lines out the door for 3-hour waits. Like that's how you know the product is definitely that good. He could say, "I'm not going to ship them because you got to be here. You got to experience it here." And I think. That just shows you, like talking about art. That just shows you his art and his passion behind his product.
Yeah, absolutely. There hasn't been a compromise in any of it.
He hasn't, and that's respectable. It's very respectable. All right, so back to Lightning Lane.
Sorry about that, guys.
We still need a late night snack then.
No, I'm being
said bread.
Honest. I'm a sucker for bread, and I'm thinking because the reason I got stuck is there's a lot of stuff that I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll have that, I'll do this, but the thing that you can always count on is like a warm piece of bread, man. If it's in the middle of the night, and I'm Cuban, I can't help it. I grew up with bread and pork. Those are my things, man.
Nothing wrong with that. We asked this question a lot, but I'm very interested for you. The last song you listened to.
The last song I listened to was just before we were on here. I was listening to the Gideons playlist. I know it sounds like I'm making that up, but yeah, it's probably like Peter Gundry's on there a lot. I don't know if you've heard of who he is. He writes a lot of those orchestrations and stuff. But yeah, it was probably some of him or Oscar Schuster, somebody I just got into recently who's also on that list. He's just a piano guy who does this creepier, dark stuff, very period stuff. So yeah.
Very cool.
All right, last show that you've binge watched.
Dude, this is an embarrassing one to admit because my wife's out of town. She's visiting a friend in Nashville. And so I spent last night watching this show called Worth It. I don't know if it's not like anything great. It's just I got sucked into it. I was eating dinner and I put it on and it's these two guys who go. They're from LA, and they go from place. It's a BuzzFeed show, and they go from like place to place, going 3 different levels of the same food. So like they'll do macaroni and cheese. They'll get the cheapest they can find in town that's good. Then they do the middle of the road. That'll be like $10. And then they go to a place that has like, $300 mac and cheese. And they compare and they're like, all right, which was your favorite? And it's stupid. But for whatever, they're really funny dudes. They're kind of entertaining.
I'd watch that.
I must have watched 2 seasons of it. It's only about a 15-minute episode. But before it was over, I'm like, how am I on season 3? And that's like kind of when I heard the guy go, oh, first episode, season 3, I'm like, I need to go shower. Like I've been here way too long.
There's times you plan on binge watching a show that's like on Netflix, and there's other times where it's just like 9:00 in the morning. You just got to turn your TV on, and next thing you know, it's not
the show
chooses
like, you.
Yeah, it's like 6 p.m. and you've been watching this run of shows for like the last 12 hours. Right?
I gotta fess up to something with you guys, because this is gonna make my TV watching sound horrible. That happened. My wife and I, we went up to visit Steve. This is like years back. We were going to a show or something, so we stayed in a hotel. And somehow she and I are talking. She came out of the shower, the bath. Anyway, we're talking, and the TV's on, and I was flipping channels, and it's on TLC, right? And they've got before the 90-day fiance thing, or 90-day fiance before the night. And all of a sudden, it's like it's going on, and we're like, it's like the show just kind of started hypnotizing us. And before we knew it. It's like we finished their little marathon of that season, but the season wasn't over. And it was like they sucked us in. Like they knew that they hadn't gotten us, and they're like, we're going to show them 6 episodes, and that's it. And we spent this was like years back, we spent I don't know how long trying to remember what the hell show was that? We have to finish this.
Wow, that's so
and we
funny.
got sucked in, right?
I had
finished the
similar.
season.
Yeah.
And it's the most awful show that you ever want to see. But somehow we told our friends about it, and our friends have become like absolutely like mesmerized. Like they're watching all the auxiliary shows that have stuff to do with it as well.
Yeah.
We have to step out. We're like, we can't do this anymore. I'm sorry.
That's how it works.
I watch a show. I'll give you a show that's even worse than that. It's more. I'm even more embarrassed to admit. Love After Lockup. If you guys have seen this show, Love After Lockup.
That is worse.
Just the names.
It's about people that meet people in prison, and then when they get out, they get together, and it's like a train wreck. Like you can't look away. Yeah. And they always play this show on like 12-hour blocks, and you just put it on, and next thing you know, you just sit there watching it to the point where like, when's the next episode? I need to know what happens. I'm telling you, it's all. I think it's on WE channel. The WE channel.
Once they get all right, we can do this whole thing.
Michael Reyes is a bad influence on Lightning Lane.
I know.
All right, next question.
What is your favorite movie?
I'm sorry.
Favorite movie.
Man, I'm gonna have to go back to when I was a kid, and because this one always hangs on. Indiana Jones, man.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
One?
I'm sorry.
Is there a specific one, or
Raiders.
just a series?
There's
Raiders.
I know it sounds silly, but that's the one. Raiders is the one for me. And of course, there's other arty movies and this and that. There's movies that you love, and I'm a big idiot for Wes Anderson and all that. But no, man, that's the one that just always.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Favorite food.
I'm gonna say this is hard to put up, but my mom's. There's something that Cubans make, and it's called bistec empanizado. Actually, it's just a lot of Caribbean countries do it, but it's the Cuban steak that's it's pounded thin and it's breaded with black beans and rice. I know that it's totally, but man, the way I just growing up, that was my all-time favorite.
That sounds
still
good.
Is, man.
Yeah, we have a Colombian restaurant up in New York that makes it like that. When I'm in New York, and they call it chicken fried steak, and
in essence, that's what it is.
Yeah. So.
All right. I like this question always. Favorite Disney villain.
Favorite Disney villain. Ratigan.
Ratigan's a great. Oh my girlfriend is gonna go nuts when she hears you picked Ratigan.
Awesome.
It's great a deep cut. I love it.
Yes, great mouse detective. If you didn't know in the chat when you're watching later, you should be ashamed of yourself if you did it. That's a great Disney movie.
It's an underrated movie, man. That's a Great Mouse Detective is an underrated movie, and Ratigan is. Vincent Price. Come on, dude.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so glad you picked that.
Yeah, my favorite moment in all of that is when he gets so upset that first time singing the song, and the guy calls him a rat in the middle of the song, and just the change and the "What did you call me?" Oh, it's so good, man.
Oh my God, that's great.
Favorite animated series.
Favorite anime. You know what? It's not a series. It was in a single season, but I just saw it this past year. It's Over the Garden Wall. Have you guys seen
Oh,
that?
okay. I have not seen that yet. I haven't watched
Oh,
that.
it's so good. Like it's I think it's 8, maybe 10 episodes, if that much. But it's Elijah Wood plays like the older brother, and it's it's fantasy, I guess, in a way, but there's a darkness to it. It's really, really beautiful. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It caught me by surprise.
What's it on? Do you know what it's on?
It's on Hulu now. You can,
Hulu,
okay. Oh no, I either Hulu or HBO Max. I know they're tied in together now, so you can find them on either or.
All right.
But I'm pretty sure I saw it on HBO Max. Really good.
Cool.
Are you a dog person or a cat person?
That's tough, man. I gotta go dog person. I had a dog as a kid, but no, it's it's weird as you get older. It's kind of like, well, cats are pretty flippin' cool too, man. So, like cats are kind of awesome. Like as you meet more cats, I think it really depends on what you grew up with. So I had a dog growing up, so naturally I'm a dog person. But as I've gotten older, I don't know, man. Cats are pretty badass.
That's awesome.
Steve's got some pretty famous cats on Instagram. They're right.
Oh. They're amazing. And if you meet those cats, that's what I'm talking about. Like his cats, and I've got a couple other friends that they're the coolest freaking cats. They're the coolest animals. They've got these really cool personalities, but they're kind of like, they're like cats. They just come up to you, you give them some love, and then they're like, all right, peace, see you later.
They're
do
independent.
their own thing.
Yeah.
They go hang out. Like, all right, I'm good with that, man.
All right. So if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
If I could live anywhere, I'm a sucker for London.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the UK. There's something about it. I just was telling a friend of mine about this. We just had this conversation about beautiful cities, and beauty's different. And London just has this cool. There's a beauty to it at the same time that they love the darkness there. Like they're cool with their like. I love that you can be like. I went there years ago, and we were on the bus or something like that, or we were doing something, and guy starts talking about the history of this place and this and this. Oh yeah, and there's some alleged murders there from Jack the Ripper. Apparently, there's still bloodstains. I'm like, where do you go?
I love true crime.
Out of that,
Yeah.
Let me just from doing this, I love the whole image I have of you as a person now. Like I mean that beautifully, because I picture of you in and you're happy in this environment. It's you like in a dreary London. Basil from Baker Street. Now I have with the Great Mouse Detective with some Danny Elfman.
There it is.
Like I got
That's
some of that
environment.
painting these guys like this, and this is what I love about this show. This is who you are. You're such a unique individual, and you're a wonderful individual the way you are with what you create and what you do. I love the picture I have of you. This is
You've been to
terrific.
Gideons, right?
Yes.
That is, in essence, it's comfortable. That's where Steve and I, we kind of, a lot of what happened in there, a lot of what's come together is just what you were saying. It's the space that you want in your brain, if that makes any sense. So if there was a place that you could put, like, if you were to somehow take apart my body, like just stretch it out into a location, that's it. That's
amazing.
It. Yeah.
All right. If you're home on a Sunday afternoon, it's a lazy day. How are you spending the day?
I'm watching this show called Worth It.
Yes.
that was
perfect.
That's just what happened yesterday.
Perfect.
I had the house to myself. I'm like, okay, I don't feel like working right now. I'm gonna take a little bit of time. So I'll tell you this. I made some sweet potato tater tots, right? And I wanted to dunk them in some. This is how I guess maybe the eating led into the terrible programming. But I needed something to dunk them into, so I had some apple butter, and I got the idea, so I put sriracha in the apple butter.
Ooh.
And if you guys want to try something awesome, get some apple butter for your sweet potato tots and dunk those in there and mix the sriracha in it. It's outstanding.
Yeah, like a spicy jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no,
it's
really, like, the flavors are good, but adding the sriracha, that little bit of garlic and heat to it, it's killer.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you what, and Gino, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we do Lightning Lane here for two reasons. One, it's just fun. But two, there's somebody else sitting at home that hasn't accomplished what you've accomplished, that might want to change their life, and they too are happy on a Sunday afternoon watching Worth It, making something with apple butter. And
Yes.
that's why we do it, because that person now gets to look at you and go, I can take my creativity, and there's nothing weird. There's other people that do the same thing. That's why it's great.
Everybody's weird, man.
Lightning Lane is the everyman's questions, right?
Yes.
It's our own little, it's our everyman's questions. So, we have one last bonus question. We always like to ask, what's your best piece of advice that you've ever received, and who gave it to you?
All right. I don't know if this counts as advice, and my memory's a little weird when it comes to it. Well, there's a couple. My dad's always really been good with advice. He's a little nuts. He's a wonderful human being. But more recently, and this isn't advice, but it's going back to the anxiety thing, right? There was an interview with Bill Hader. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bill Hader, but
absolutely.
I'm a big fan of his. And he was talking about, this was, like I said, to see that connection, just like what you were saying, like somebody else, and you're like, wait a minute. So he was talking about his anxiety and how it's held him back for years, and that even when he was on SNL, that a lot of times he'd get sick before going out and stuff, and how he'd come to deal with it. And so in a small way, he gives advice, and he says, you just got to learn to accept your anxiety as like your roommate. Or like you're living with a kid, and every now and again, you're going to start misbehaving, and you just got to let them have their freak out. And when they calm down, you're like, okay, are you ready to go now? Can we go?
That's
and it's really changed my opinion on how to deal with it, because it used to be, for me at least, to try and block that freak out. Like when you felt it coming on, like you fight it, and you're like, no, don't let that happen. No. And that only amplifies it. And then you end up saying weird things or doing weird things, where it's like, if I feel it coming on that I'm having a freak out, it's just, okay, you don't have to say anything. You can just wait, have the freak out, panic a little bit, go ahead and, do what you need to do. And it'll be gone a lot faster. And so I know that that's a weird, like, best bit of advice, but when I heard him say that, it really, really made an impact on how I, sort of dealt with it.
That's fantastic advice. It's almost like what they say, like when someone's bullying you, right? Which the anxiety is a bully. Let's face it, right? It's like you just ignore him and it'll go away a lot sooner. But if you play into it, what is that guy? Right. Every day he's going to come back and rear his ugly head, and it's kind of the same thing. And I'll tell you what, that's great advice. That's one of the best ones we've gotten, I think.
And having the awareness to know that the feeling you're going to have in that moment is not permanent. Your body is going to tell you it's the end of the world or whatever it's telling you in that moment, and it's not. You just got to just breathe through however you can handle it comfortably. I never want to tell anybody how to, but it's going to be gone. It's not going to last.
Yeah, and it's hard at first. I'm not going to lie. Like the first couple times, you feel like it's like letting go of the wheel, and you're like, this thing is going to go straight off the road. But then you realize, okay, like as you do it more and more, it does start to help. And look, man, it doesn't go away. I still have freakouts. Like even, we just did a signing recently at Gideons, and, all I had to do was bring the pens. That was my assignment. Show up and bring the pens. I got there early, forget the pens, and start having a freak out about the pens because I let them all down. It's like the smallest thing becomes the biggest impossible hurdle. Like I felt like I'd let every single person who was waiting down, and I let Steve down, and I let Patrick down, and I got to find pens now. And I go running off to Pop Gallery, which is down the way. I go running down there trying to find pens. I'm calling people, annoying them because it's, Sunday at 9 a.m. And then I'm like, wait a minute. It's a freaking pen. Just so start walking back, and it's like, okay, all right, the freak out's over. Just get back and, go have the day. So anyway.
Hey, we're local. Call me and Rob. We'll bring over some pens.
There it is, right?
We'd love to.
Listen, 9 a.m.
A cookie for like a little tip would help, but yeah, we'll bring over the pens.
Pay us some cookies.
We got cookies.
Get one of those
if I'm there,
brewers,
we got cookies.
The Gideon's fix. Like a Gideon's dealer on the side.
I'll get you two.
I need my fix, man. I need some pistachio and some peanut butter right now.
It's one of my favorite questions that we ask every week with the advice question, and they're always great answers. I feel like this was one of my favorite answers, and I feel like I could relate to this answer specifically because, again, it's something that I've always dealt with and I'd still deal with. So, thank you so much, man, and thank you for coming spending some time with me and Rob, man. We really appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate the artwork. I appreciate everything that you guys got going on over there. The cookies are fantastic, man, and I love seeing every month. Just as way you just run. when you're just trying to figure out what the next cookie is, you also just as excited to see the next character that you guys come up with. So thank you so much for doing what you do. And thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was an absolute pleasure. And I know you apologized a couple of times for being weird. And all I want to say to that is you are wonderfully weird. And I hope you know you never have to apologize for it. It's wonderful.
Apologizing is my pastime. Like,
I understand.
That's just what I do, man. I've got people have swear jars. I have an apology jar in the house. So.
I send my wife an apology every week, once a week, just even when I didn't do anything wrong, just because like I feel like it's. I
might have missed it. I'm sorry if I did. Here's an apology just in case.
Yeah, every Saturday night, send over. Let me just get this apology out of the way. But Mr. Reyes, Mr. Eyes, Michael Reyes, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks, guys.
Listen, I can't wait when you come up. Reach out to us. We'll definitely grab some cookies and some cold brew, and maybe take in a Piano Rob show at the Boathouse for sure.
There it is. We'll have to take cookies because that's how you tip this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I take cash too, guys. I take cash too.
We're gonna slip a couple bills into the cookie.
There you go. There you go. It's the best of both worlds. So we're gonna take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap up. But Michael Reyes, thank you so much for giving us some time.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Danny Elfman.
What a fun interview, man. Love getting to know Michael Reyes a little bit.
No offense to our other guests, but that was one of my favorite. That was great. I love it. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from this. I hope they do. That's
where I was going. I feel like with a lot of what's made Michael Reyes the artist today is a lot of stuff that I can relate to, the anxieties and stuff. So like I can relate to that. So I think it was special for me to even hear it. And I hope that if there's anybody that's listening that has some of these things that they have dealt with or are dealing with, and if you're just tuning in late, go to the beginning. Because in the beginning, we really, I think, touched on more of the deeper stuff. So if you came in a little late, go to the beginning, listen to the beginning, because there's a great message involved in there. And again, it's stuff that I can relate to. That's why I think this was a little special for me as well. And I know you feel the same way. But yeah, man, we ran a little late today, but it was worth running a little late. It was a great conversation. So before we get out of here, what do you got coming up, my man?
Oh my goodness, this is a busy week. Wednesday, I'm in Claremont at the brewery, the Claremont Brewing Company. I got a full weekend, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday brunch at the Boathouse. So that's going to be this weekend. Busy weekend.
All right. I myself am, as everybody knows, on Friday, I'm heading back to New York for a couple of months to set up for the big move down with the wife and the pets and Zoe and everybody else is coming down. So I will be out of Florida for a couple of months. Let me give my daughter a shout out. Angelique, she graduates college on a week.
Congratulations.
So I'll be in New York for a little bit. There we go.
With knowing that this is your father, you accomplished so much more than normal people.
You know what? That's not very nice to me, but it's great for her, so I appreciate it. She worked really hard, man, and I'm so proud of her. And I wish she was coming down to Florida with me and the wife, but she'll be in New York still and doing her thing.
She'll visit once she realizes that's what happens to all of us. We come down for a taste and then we move here.
That's what I'm hoping for. But guys, I will still be in Florida for this Thursday's Disney Underground. So make sure you guys come in. Me, Disney Fanatic Greg, Sammy D. We will be discussing a lot of Pete's Hall of Fame inductions, which will be this Saturday. And Pete will be in the house for a bunch of the show. And so please, guys, come check us out. And I'll also be on that same night, Thursday, before the Disney Underground. I will be on Pete's show Inside the Huddle for the FitzMagic Audible. So if you're a football fan, come check us out over there on the Pete McDevitt show, talking some football. And then after that, at 9:00 on Thursday night, You'll have the Disney Underground meme. You're gonna put it back up real quick. That's on Saturday. So with that, guys, have a great week, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. Why don't you play us a little something, Rob?
A C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. A cookie starts with C.
Especially at Gideons. Guys, have a great day, a better tomorrow, and we will see you next time. I'll see you later, my man, Rob.
See you later.
Bobby Keys.